to start with, we would like to welcome Simbayanan ni Maria Multipurpose Cooperative. We have One Caraga Community Credit Co-op. We have Manatal Co-op. We also have from Santa Ana Multipurpose Cooperative, headed by Sir Joey Santillan, which is also one of the claims officers. We have from Liga Co-op, welcome po. We have from Basu Development Cooperative. We also have from Tri-C Ventures Consumers Cooperative. We have from St. Francis Multipurpose Co-op. We have from Cooperative Bank of Cagayan. We also have from ISU Multipurpose Cooperative. We also have a representative from CDA Region 3. Welcome po. We have from Tabuk Multipurpose Cooperative. From Sacred Heart Savings Cooperative. We also have from ACBI Multipurpose Cooperative, represented by Major General Yanto, Sir Gilbert. Good afternoon and welcome po. He is also he is actually the Vice Chairperson of CLIME. We're happy that you are here. We also have from Bukidnon Government Employees Multipurpose Cooperative. We have from Panabo MPC. We also have from Eco Church MPC. We have from Ligas Kooperatiba ng Bayan sa Pag-uunlad. We have from Vincentian Family MPC, Cooperative Union of Marikina City. We also have from Baao Parish MPC, PHCCI MPC Tacloban. We also have from Cypress Employees MPC, from Sinon Credit Cooperative. Welcome po. Also from Baguio Entrepreneurs Credit Co-op, Income Credit Cooperative, Northern Samar Multipurpose Cooperative, Tagum Co-op, from the Bunturan Integrated Cooperative. We also have from BMPI Employees and Community Credit Co-op, from Tanay Market Vendors Community MPC. We also have from Kalinga Transport Services and Development Co-op. We also have from Agricultural Workers and Entrepreneurs Multipurpose Cooperative, from Lake Tabun High School MPC. We have from Erie Employees Credit Development Cooperative. Welcome po. We also have from Ipsos Premier MPC, St. Vincent Ferrer Parish MPC. We also have from Peso Aralan Credit Cooperative. Also from Polomolok MPC. From Sunrise MPC. We also have from IHO Employees Agrarian Reform Beneficiaries Co-op 2. From Bonbonon Farmers MPC. We also have from Takurong City Cooperative of Sultan Kudarat. Welcome po. We have from Food Cooperative. We have from Quezon Medical Mission Group Multipurpose Co-op. From Calaca Public Market Vendor and Community Credit Co-op. From Coasco MPC. Welcome po. From Bunturan Multipurpose Co-op. From IMCO Multipurpose Cooperative. And from Bagong Silang 2 MPE. We also have from Tanyong High School Teachers MPC. Welcome po. And we also have from, of course, from Nova Desi, represented by one of our board of directors, Ma'am Marlene Sindayan. Welcome po. We have from Holy Cross, represented by our independent director din po ng CLIME, si Ma'am Lilian Licelobrico. Welcome po, Ma'am. And we have also from SACDECO, represented by Sir Alex Roquepo, our officer din po ng CLIME. So we are so glad that you are, for the time you have spared to add this economic outlook. And to formally welcome and open this session, I would like to call on our President and CEO in CLIME, Mr. Noel Raboy, for his remarks.
Thank you, Ice.
Welcome, sir.
Magandang hapon po sa lahat. In behalf of our board of directors, headed by our chairperson, Father Elmo Manching, and we have also our vice chair here, MJ Gilbert Lianto, and the rest of the board of directors and officers. Marami rin nag-join sa atin dito. Magandang hapon po at salamat sa suporta, and especially yung mga owners na always look into the year-ender na activity natin, the economic outlook for 2021. I know that every CEOs and the board of directors are waiting for, or maybe asking what will be the next normal. Especially we have the COVID-19. We have also how COVID-19 creates will be the investment climate for this 2021, and at the same time readjusting also our budgets. Some we look at it as a challenge, but for every challenges, we know that strategies will change, and we just hope that we looking forward. There's always to give us a glimpse on the cooperative sector in the government strategies. I think we place his active in social media. So first time na si Sir Vince and microinsurance at the same time on the upliftment, especially the sustainable development goals that we have, which will align together with SENP. So we don't I would like to thank you and welcome you for this year-ender report, year-ender 2021 economic outlook. Salamat po sa pag-join. Thank you po, IC.
Thank you, Sir Noel. Medyo hindi po natin na ano yung message ni Sir, but we know that he is very thankful to have us here. And also, I would like to acknowledge the presence of San Dionisio Credit Cooperative na naka-board meeting pa yata sila. So, welcome po. And with no further ado, I would like to introduce to you our speaker for this afternoon. He is from the far-flung outskirts of Manila, Quirino. He grew up with his parents to be an entrepreneur, exposing him to various business endeavors at a young age. In 2001, he was one of the few youth ambassadors who represented the Philippines in a cultural exchange program, the SHIP for Southeast Asian Youth Program. He also represented the Philippines in the Global Youth Leadership Program in Japan in 2004 and was the youngest national leader among 40 participating countries worldwide. He has been teaching microfinance and social entrepreneurship at the Ateneo de Manila University for the past 15 years. He established ZP, a social enterprise that provides financial literacy trainings to low-income OFWs in 15 countries worldwide. Since 2004, ZP has trained more than 30,000 individuals and has managed social investment close to 325 million pesos. He holds a bachelor's degree in management from the Ateneo de Manila and a master's degree in entrepreneurship from the Asian Institute of Management. In 2016, he wrote a book on personal finance entitled Learning Wealth, successful strategies in money management. It was well received and launched his career as a blogger and social media personality. His tagline, ang Pagyaman na pag-aaralan, emphasizes his two-pronged strategy. Number one, to reach out to Filipinos who yearn for practical money management, knowledge, and skill. While number two, making the learning experience fun, easily understood, and not intimidating. So, I would like to welcome Mr. Mariel Vincent Andres Rapisura, or Sir Vince for short. Hello, Sir Vince.
Hi, hello.
The virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, IC, for that introduction. And of course, maraming salamat po sa clients for inviting me to provide this presentation this afternoon. At special mention po, of course, sa ating CEO, kay Noel, at aking pinaka-connect dyan, no, si Renan. Magandang hapon din po, no, sa lahat ng mga board of directors ng clients at ng mga officers natin na nandito ngayon, no? So mukhang ang participants natin ay talagang nagmula sa buong kapuluan, kaya babatiin ko po muna ang aking mga kasamahan, mga dyan sa Ilocandia. Ako po ay Ilocano, naimbag nga malamyo amin, at syempre kabalo din ako magbisaya, gamayra, so maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. Okay, so ang pag-uusapan ko po ngayong hapon ay tungkol sa Philippine economic outlook, at syempre alam natin na we are very stressed, no, kung ano ba, what will 2021 look like, what will and the years after that, no? And parang nag-bottom out na ba tayo this 2020? Sana naman ano na ito na yung lowest point that we could reach, and there is no way but up. Okay, so I will now share my screen to you, and I'll show our presentation. So I hope you're able to see my screen right now. Tama po ba? Okay. So yung didiscuss ko nga, as I said, is the Philippine economic outlook. And caveat lang po ha, hindi po ako ekonomista. So ang information po na ipapresent ko sa inyo ngayon ay kinuha natin sa government agencies at ibang mga research organizations. Tapos ang mas gagawin ko po ay ang aking ipapresent ang aking karanasan sa microfinance, also my interaction with the cooperative sector, to put it into more proper perspective, no? Ano ba yung mga pwede nating gawin to pivot to a better normal, no? As we call it. Okay, so I created this framework to attack in presenting the economic outlook. So I will be providing hindsights. Tapos ay yung mga generate natin na insights from those hindsight information, and then we will try to predict, or we will try to see what these insights and hindsight would tell us for our foresight. So we will be using our hindsight to reveal insights that will guide our foresight. So yan po ang ating susubukan na gawin. Okay. So first, I'd like to begin with the economic hindsight, and I'd like to go as far as I can, ano? Kasi yan ang nakakalimutan natin karaniwang mga Pilipino, ay yung ating history, no? The richness of our history, at nakakalimutan yata natin ang lessons ng history. Kaya gusto ko lang pong balikan, okay? So this is the Philippine GDP trajectory, no, since 1961. So ito po yung earliest na nakuha ko, no. So if you take a look at it, talagang mayroong 1 taon, mayroong 2 taon na talagang doon tayo bumaba. Okay, and if you take a look at this, it was actually during the Marcos dictatorship that we had a very bad recession, no, for 2 years. So negative 7.3% po yung GDP growth natin nung mga panahon na yon. So gross domestic product is the measure of the productivity of our country, no? So moving forward, if we take a look at the graph closer, ano? So this is our GDP still and the inflation. Yung red po ay inflation, yun pong color green na line, that is our gross domestic product. If you take a look at the 1967 to 1986, 1985 thereabouts, no, which is highlighted in this this is the Marcos dictatorship period, kung saan mataas talaga yung inflation natin, and then yung GDP, although may mga panahon na mataas siya, but towards the end talagang nagkaroon ng ng divide. Sobrang taas na inflation, tapos bumagsak ang ekonomiya. Also in 1990, we had the oil and the energy crisis, which again, we experienced a recession. So negative 0.6% ang ating GDP growth at this period. And then in 1998, actually ito na yung medyo natatandaan ko, no, na crisis talaga. 1998 Asian financial crisis, kasi ako po ay nasa college at this year. Ramdam na ramdam ko yung aking mga magulang na nahirapan sa tuition because of the Asian financial crisis. And with this, we also experienced a recession. And this is actually the last recession that we had, kahit na nagkaroon ng global financial crisis noong 2008. No? In 2008, we escaped the global financial crisis because we were able, I think, no, in my opinion, we were able to learn something from the Asian financial crisis at naihanda at less ang exposure natin from the risk assets coming from the West at this period. So we had the low growth, but it was commendable kasi hindi siya nag-go into recession. Okay. So if we look closer naman from the 1987 to 2009, ano? If you take a look at the 1987 to 2000 graph, we still have higher inflation. That's the red mark, okay, the red trend, and lower GDP. Pero hindi na kasing laki ng yung inflation natin in the past years. During the Marcos period. And so I always compare GDP and inflation as GDP as a step moving forward and inflation step backward. Ano? Kasi growth yung pinag-uusapan natin. So kapag pinag-add mo itong dalawang ito at negative ang resulta niya, so hindi talaga tayo nag-grow. So kunwari, nag-grow tayo ng 6%, tapos sa GDP, pero may inflation na 3%, 6 minus 3, ang growth lang talaga natin, the real growth is just 3%. So here, dito sa panahon na ito, from 1987 up to 2000, medyo yung pag-abante natin ay mas bumibilis na kaysa sa pag-atras. Ano? At ganun din, at mas naging mas naging okay pa noong 2001 to 2009. Mas naging stable tayo. And this just goes to show what bad governance does. Ano? Talagang it stalls our growth and it affects the lowest segment, no, of the societies kasi sila yung vulnerable. So 30 years yung nawala sa atin, no, because of that. If you take a look at the from 2011 to 2019, ayan na, actually this is the graph that what we want to have. Mataas na GDP growth rate, tapos mas mababa yung inflation. So at this period, mas mabilis na tayong umabante kaysa may pag-atras ng inflation. So this is the good economic indicators that we want to have. Okay. Unfortunately, of course, we know that 2020 has been slammed the brakes towards this growth that we were experiencing. Pero the question that we need to ask here is, ito bang in the past 10 years, no, 2011 to 2019, kahit hindi pa natin pag-usapan yung 2020, naramdaman ba ng mga naramdaman ba ng mga mahihirap yung growth na ito? And the answer here is parang hindi, ano? Kasi if you take a look at this graph, no, this is the graph of if you take a look at 2004 hanggang the present period, ano, this is the self-rated poverty coming from the social weather stations. At masasabi natin na parang hindi masyadong nagbabago. Nagsasayaw lang siya dito sa 50% na mark in the past 15 years. Although, but if you compare that with the improvement of our credit rating sa ating macroeconomic indicators, ay pa-improve tayo ng pa-improve. So what this means? What does this mean? Nasa investment grade ang Philippine macroeconomics, no, pagtitignan natin siya. Pero ito ba ay nararamdaman ng mga nasa ibaba na talagang dapat sila yung nakakaramdam ng kaginhawaan? At mukhang ang sagot dito, ayon sa survey na ginawa ng social weather stations, ay mukhang hindi, no, hindi pa nararamdaman. So napakalaki ngayon talaga ng challenge na mas ibaba yung development na natatamasa ng Pilipinas sa laylayan ng lipunan. At mas naging challenging pa yan dahil sa pagdating ng COVID-19, ano? Yun. So these are our economic insights. So ito yung Philippine GDP growth rate 2012 to 2020 at yun nga, no, sa 2020 ang expectation ay nasa negative 7% tayo. This is what our government economic managers are telling us. Mukhang nasa negative 7.5% ang pagbaba ng ating ekonomiya ngayong 2020. Pero may mga nababasa ako na up to negative 10% ay sinasabi nila na tayo ay yun yung ating recession. Pero if you take a look at this, ang Pilipinas is actually one of the fastest growing economies in Asia and emerging markets before the COVID-19 pandemic. So talagang naslam yung brakes, ano, wala talagang nakapag-predict sa atin na ganito ang mangyayari. Tayo nasanay na sa disasters ay nahirapan pa rin, no, with this. So this is the economic performance, GDP growth rate of the Philippines this third quarter, no, from September until September 2020. So negative 11.5% po ang ating GDP growth rate. And for the whole year of 2020, mukhang talagang dire-diretso ng negative. So it started in quarter 1 with negative 0.7 and then talagang nag-slump noong quarter 2 because of the enhanced community quarantines and our lockdown, which is characterized by many as the longest lockdown all over the world. So longest and strictest actually, no? And because of that, nag-slump talaga, negative 16.9% ng quarter 2. And then nag-improve naman ng quarter 3 pero nasa negative territory pa rin, no? So kumbaga yung lagnat natin nung quarter 2 ay nasa 41 degrees, mukhang itong quarter 3 ay nasa 40 degrees, no, yung lagnat natin. So hindi pa tayo talaga magaling, ano. Yan po yung economic performance natin. And ano yung major industries na nag-contribute ng growth for quarter 3, no? So it's the agriculture sector. And during the start of the pandemic, when people were asking me what industry will thrive because of the pandemic, ang sabi ko, I think it's the time of the agriculture sector to shine. Kasi talagang kahit naman nakakulong tayo, kakain pa rin tayo eh. Yung mga valuables and mga luxury goods, they can go, pero yung ating pagkain ay nandyan pa rin, kakailanganin natin. Tapos na-halt pa yung supply chain ng galing ng mga agricultural products from other countries, and that's the reason why mas may need for the agriculture sector. And given that, sana nag-translate ito sa mga cooperative sector natin dahil alam naman natin na ang cooperative sector karamihan talaga, if not most, no, ay sa agriculture sector ang ating pinapasok at ang ating tinutulungan mga farmers, fisher folks. Okay? Okay, so just breaking it down para makita natin kung ano yung mga areas, no, kung saan ano yung mga activities na tumaas at bumaba ngayong pandemic. So yung financial and insurance activities natin nag-post ng positive growth this third quarter, which is good, no, for dahil kasama diyan yung ating cooperative sector. And then we also have the agriculture, forestry, and fishing na nag-grow ng 1.2%. So siguro inisip natin, 1.2% lang naman yung greenaw nito. Pero kung titignan po natin, yung base kasi ng agriculture sector natin, even at the employment side, ay malaki siya compared sa ibang mga services. So even a small percentage of growth there is very, very much welcome. Kasi kapag minultiply mo ito sa malaking base, mas madami po itong growth and employment na napoproduce. Okay? Tapos ito na po yung mga negative na growth natin, no? So trade has also been affected. Alam naman natin na of course marami rin sa mga sinusuportahan ng mga kooperatiba ay yung mga nasa sector ng pagte-trade, no, sa mga buy and sell. And then we also have our manufacturing na bumaba din po. So this is of course very essential kasi yung manufacturing sector, marami yang kaakibat na ibang mga maliliit na businesses na naaapektuhan kapag bumababa siya, no? And then we also have our real estate and ownership dwellings na bumaba ng 22.5%. Transportation and storage, no? Ang ating mga jeepney drivers, ang ating mga bus ay talagang nabawasan because of the pandemic dahil sa mga restrictions na dulot nito. And of course, sana yung mga co-ops na may mga hotel and hostels, no, na mga lines of business ay hindi masyadong tinamaan ito, pero napakalakas talaga ng tama ng COVID-19 sa accommodation and food services. So yan po yung if we break down into economic activities. So the top contributors to growth for the third quarter of 2020 ay ito, no, net exports and government final consumption expenditures. Nagkaroon naman ng contraction or decline sa construction, sa household and consumption expenditure, at saka sa durable equipment. So napakahalaga na mag-zoom in tayo sa household final consumption and expenditure dahil marami sa mga members natin ng mga kooperatiba ay dyan umaasa, no? Kung matamlay ang pagbili ng ating mga consumers sa mga products and services natin, that would mean that our clients na pinahiraman natin for capital sa kanilang businesses ay maapektuhan din. Mayroong slowdown na ma-experience. Based on the information coming from Apple and Google Analytics, sa movement ng mga tao gamit ang mobile phones, yung mobility natin in the domestic economy is still below 40% of pre-pandemic levels. So talagang nandun pa yung takot ng mga tao sa COVID-19 at umiiwas para hindi tamaan. And ang nagiging epekto nito ay tumatamlay ang ating ekonomiya. So yung mga recreational activities, lalong-lalo na ngayon, no, Disyembre, dapat ay nararamdaman na natin ngayon. Pero hindi ito pronounced at hindi ito nakikita dahil sa lack of mobility. So ito naman yung unemployment natin. yung ano natin dito, yung unemployment din, we are hoping na rebound siya ng 7.5 to 7% na lang yung unemployment natin. So mukhang slow yung magiging recovery ng unemployment natin to pre-pandemic levels. Okay, so slow recovery nga because of business losses and shutdowns. And this leads to high unemployment, and because of high unemployment, mas mababa po yung consumption that leads to slower growth, gaya ng nabanggit ko kanina. And then our slow recovery is still, of course, being hampered by the continuous spread of COVID. But of course, we have to also commend the government na hindi na ganon kabilis yung pag-spread ng virus, and we're able to control it. Pero just a comparison kasi parang tayo, our testing capacity is at 35,000. Parang ang pinaka mataas kong nakita ay 45,000 tests per day. Tapos nanonood ako ng news kahapon, and I found out, for example, na in an area in China, nagkaroon ng a handful cases. So a handful, I'm thinking below 10 kasi it's only a handful cases. But they tested 250,000 individuals, no, for that outbreak, localized outbreak alone, which pag i-compare mo, okay, kaya pala talagang na-control nila yung yung pag-spread ng COVID-19 because with only a handful, with 250,000 tests, talagang mahuhuli mo kung sino yung magpa-positive at makokontrol mo yung pag-spread nito dahil ma-identify mo siya. That's why it's also, it's very, very important. It's very, very important that we have to we have to be vigilant na i-increase pa rin ng government ang ating ang ating capacity for testing para talagang ma-prevent natin. So yung detection at contact tracing is still very, very important. No? Hindi lang po natin dapat iaasa sa vaccine, lalong-lalo na kasi maraming nagsasabi na it will take some time before the vaccine will really reach our shores. And we also don't know whether there would be enough for everyone, specifically for 2021. So, yun. Tapos may mga questions pa on affordability. Kaya ba itong bilhin ng gobyerno para sa ating lahat? That remains a question to be answered. Okay, so moving on to our sector, no? Because a lot of the cooperatives are doing microfinance. Ito naman po yung microfinance hindsight natin. So again, going as far back as I can, 1980s, ang microfinance, nagsimula yan. We already adopted the Grameen methodology and village banking dito. Tapos maliliit na organizations pa yan noon. In the 1990s, nagkaroon ng mga replications, kaya dumami ang mga microfinance institutions. Usually less than 3,000 clients sila. But ang characteristic ng mga organizations na to, they were heavily dependent on grant as capital, no? During this period. In the 2000s naman, by the turn of the millennium, there's already rapid growth of large microfinance institutions with focus on internal mobilization of savings and capital build-up. Something that the cooperatives already knew long before, no? Kasi ang talagang ine-encourage ng cooperativism is internal mobilization of funds, no, through savings and capital build-up. So, pero anong nangyari sa makita natin dyan? No? Parang natutunan na ng mga microfinance institutions yan, pero nag-translate ba yan sa mga cooperatives din? Malalaman natin mamaya. No? In the 2000s also, the turn of the millennium, there's the rise of the mutual benefit associations that went along with our microfinance institutions. So some microfinance NGOs established their own mutual benefit associations to complement their credit and savings operations. In the 2010s, there's unprecedented growth of microfinance giants. So kapag giants ang sinabi natin, greater than 1 million clients yung mayroon sila, no? So microfinance giants ang tawag natin doon. They behave differently, no? Compared to large, medium and large microfinance institutions. So to me, a large microfinance institution would be those with 200,000 to about less than 1 million na clients. So yan yung nakita natin in the 2010s. Siyempre, ang pinakasikat na alam natin na microfinance giants are Asia Philippines, Card Bank, and the Card Inc., the Card NGO. At mayroon ngayon na humahabol, no? Mukhang magkakaroon ng additional tayo na giant. At i-chismis ko sa inyo yan maya-maya. Co-op kaya yun? Hindi na, co-op ba yun? Okay, and in the 2010s also, yung insurance ay naging standard of product offering. And what does this mean? Kapag ang ino-offer lang ng cooperative or ng microfinance institution ay credit and savings, nakukulangan ng mga members dito at naging competitive advantage ang pagkakaroon ng insurance product. And that's the reason why very, very important na may partnership tayo with clients to be able to provide the insurance services to our members or to our clients. No, there's also automation, and we've also observed some of the commercial banks coming into the microfinance market. Albeit hindi natin talaga sila pa nakikita na maging aggressive. I was actually quite excited before na pumasok sila and was thinking that they would be providing more efficiency since they have the capital and they have the technological and management capacity to to grow. Pero it seems like parang nalilimit ng banking regulation and compliance yung growth ng mga microfinance banks natin. So these are my microfinance insights, no? And what I'd like to share to you is the top microfinance institutions in the Philippines. So tignan natin, baka nandito po kayo, no? Yung mga organizations na kasama natin ngayon. Kasama ba tayo sa top 10? Ako, para pala itong Miss Universe. Okay, so sa top 10 natin, okay, ay TSKI, so tulay sa kaunlaran. Okay, these top MFIs ay based sa number of borrowers or number of members po yung tinignan natin. So I gathered this from the Cooperative Development Authority data plus data coming from the Securities and Exchange Commission. So TSKI is an NGO. They have 207,000 borrowers. Oreco ay 212,000 members. Pag-asa Philippines with 309,000. Rafi Microfinance with 323, and rounding up our first five pala, no? Natin ay FICO, 344,000 yung kanilang members or borrowers. So sa top 10 natin, first half mayroong dalawang kooperatiba na nakapasok, Moreco at saka FICO. Nandito po ba sila? Kasi kung nandito po sila ay i-recognize natin at palakpakan natin sila, no? Ayun, ang number 5, taking on the number 5 spot is the Negros Women for Tomorrow Foundation, 563,000 members. AIM Co-op at 652, and then Card Bank, 1.1 million members. Card Inc. at 1.1, no? 1.2 na yan actually, borrowers. And of course, the largest single entity, is Asa Philippines with 1.8. Pero syempre, i-contest yan ni Card kasi sasabihin niya, well, we are an MRI. Ang Card Inc. at Card Bank ay under one umbrella lang. That would mean that we have about 2.3 million. Okay, but it's the same. Kung institutional natin titignan isa-isa, Asa po ang number 1. At mukhang ang hahabol na maging giant na microfinance institution ay ang AIM Co-op. Okay. So yan po yung top microfinance institutions in the Philippines. Just to continue with our microfinance timeline kanina, naputol tayo sa 2010. So what will happen, no? 2020 and beyond? We are predicting that there would be a proliferation of fintech platforms. In fact, nag-umpisa na nga siya, no? So if you take a look at the right side of my presentation, ay talagang ang daming nagsulputan na mga kung ano-anong mga fintech services or fintech platforms offering primarily credit, no, to our kababayans. And we are also hoping that Islamic finance will finally take a foothold in the Philippine financial sector, because ako talaga, no, nakikita ko na Islamic finance would be the solution on how we could do better or ethical financing. And of course, digital finance. So nakita na natin yan. Marami nang gumagamit ng GCash and PayMaya and other payment platforms. Okay, so in our digital finance side naman, no, so yung InstaPay jumped 8.2 times, no, in terms of its volume. Yung InstaPay po, yan yung platform natin dito sa Pilipinas, mainly involving individual and retail transactions. Tapos yung peso net naman jumped 2 times, no, greater than 2 times. And this is more on institutional and bulk and recurring digital finance transactions. So talagang nandyan na tayo. Digital financing is already with us. Automation is with us. So kung yung co-op po natin ay wala pang ginagawang steps towards this, no, ay medyo baka mapag-iwanan po tayo. Kaya actually ito yung hinala ko, baka kaya ganito yung membership natin na medyo tigulang, no, medyo matatanda dahil nga wala tayo masyadong digital footprint or digital exposure. Okay, so my foresight for the microfinance industry would be this one, no. So here would be this would be the challenges still, no. Number one would still be the high interest rate to clients because of high transaction costs, and then mataas na loan losses due to disasters, and because of the debt burden, no. Kasi parang ang system natin, kapag may disaster, ang nag-absorb talaga ng risk na yan ay ang mga small entrepreneurs. At yung utang nila before na nawala because of the disaster, nawala yung kapital nila dahil sa disaster, madadagdagan ulit ng utang. And so they bury themselves into deeper debt. Another challenge would still be in the area of agricultural and rural finance. Tapos frequent occurrence of natural disasters, diba? It's as if hindi pa talaga tayo sobra-sobra sa disaster. Dumating pa ang pandemic, may 4 na bagyo, at itong unang taon, lindol at saka pagputok ng bulkan, grabe, lahat na ng sakuna ay nandito ngayong 2020. We're also, of course, still battling the impact of climate change, which remains to be a challenge, no? And then the persistence of for us to have a slow recovery because of the pandemic will also challenge the microfinance industry. Although ang napansin ko rin po in my 2 decades of experience in the microfinance sector, medyo may pagka-counter-cyclical yung microfinance performance, lalong-lalo na sa mga well-established microfinance institutions like cooperatives, no, na matagal na nag-ooperate locally. Counter-cyclical siya in a sense na mas dumadami yung members ng kooperatiba kapag may crisis dahil hindi sila makapasa sa programa ng mga bangko. Kung dati papasa sila, ngayon hindi sila makapasa. So they turn to the cooperative sector and the microfinance NGOs kasi mas madali yung ating mga requirements. There's also the guide bill, which is the unified initiatives among government financial institutions. Unified initiatives to distressed entrepreneurs for economic recovery. Ang tinitignan po natin dito ay itong bill na to, magkakaroon ng 55 billion capital injection to government financial institutions. If I remember correctly, it's 35 billion capitalization, additional capitalization to Land Bank, 15 billion to Development Bank of the Philippines, and 5 billion to the Philippine Guarantee Corporation. And because ito ay makakapitalize, the authors of the bill are saying that this will have a multiplier effect and will have at least 600 billion in funds available from these government financial institutions for relending to micro and small medium enterprises. So at least mayroon tayong aasahan na pwede nating matakbuhan from the government side. Sa opportunities naman, ito yung nakikita ko na opportunity. So there would be the diversification of the needs of clients, no? As kasi nakita natin nagmo-move up naman yung ating economic status. So agri-financing would still be there, pero one area na pwede nating tignan ay on the micro housing side. Especially that this pandemic has driven us to go back in the rural areas, no? Ako, I have a rental property here in Manila at dati wala talagang vacancy. Talagang ikaw yung pipilahan ng mga gustong mag-rent. Parang yung mga mag-rent dati ay aalis yung tenant, walang lull time, isa o dalawang araw lang para pinturahan yung unit ulit. Ngayon ay tumatagal. Meron kaming room na hindi pa napaparentahan, 6 na buwan na yung inaantay namin. And I think this is because people have gone back to their provinces because of the pandemic. Siguro nawalan ng trabaho dito sa Maynila, bumalik sa probinsya. And that's actually opportunity for us cooperatives dahil tayo ay mas rooted in the rural areas. And if we're able to provide economic activities and support the economic activities of these people, going back, housing also, then hindi na sila babalik dito sa Maynila. So marami siyang masosolve, no? Yung ating urban population will also be addressed. Water, sanitation, and hygiene is also an area that we have seen where microfinance institutions can develop products. So toilets and water supply, yan po yung nakikita natin. Another opportunity would be on the part of education. Okay. As I mentioned a while ago, there would be high government support for growth, no? And capacity development for MSMEs. But I think this is only applicable to microfinance institutions who already have previous relationship with these government financial institutions. So kung ngayon ka palang mag-uumpisa na mag-engage ng relationship mo with DBP and Land Bank and wala pang banking relationship sa kanila masyado, baka mas mahirapan. Kasi ang napansin ko, no, during the time of the ECQ negotiation with the banks, ang mas inuuna ng mga bangko talagang i-serve ay yung kanilang mga clients na existing na. So there's also an opportunity for digital finance, and this is where we should be most excited about because it could level the playing field, no, in terms of access to opportunities. Okay, now I go into the smaller part pa, no? Kasi kanina I started with the macro and then I zoomed into our industry sa microfinance and the cooperative sector, and now I would like to go at the lowest level, no, yung nano enterprise na tinatawag namin. So nano enterprise is a SEDP coined term that refers to to the a smaller version of the micro enterprise. So sa research natin, ang nakita natin ay rural banks and cooperatives typically serve micro enterprises, and microfinance NGOs naman would serve the nano enterprises. So ano ba yung difference ng micro enterprise sa nano enterprises? So ito yung characteristics ng nano enterprises. So they are unregistered or informal, o kapareho ng micro enterprises. They're typically solo or with help of unpaid family members in their business. Focus on the local market. And then, maliit lang talaga yung kanilang capital. At how much capital are we talking about? Less than 20,000 pesos. Yan po yung capital na kailangan nila. Small capital. And then they have the ability to quickly set up their enterprise because there's low barrier to entry in the kinds of enterprises that they can establish. And they typically earn less than 240,000 pesos a year. So 240 a year is parang double the a little bit over the minimum wage, malapit sa minimum wage natin. Sa size ng enterprises Philippines, so 1% lang talaga yung large and medium enterprises natin. At yung small naman is about 10.5%. So these enterprises have 3 million to 15 million in asset size, 10 to 99 employees. No? Yung micro, which is typically what we refer to as our clients, less than 3 million ang size nila and may employee na 1 to 9. No? At 88.5% ito, this is coming from the Department of Trade and Industry. And if we take a look at it, there's only 887,000 micro enterprises in the Philippines, then what do you now call the clients of even if you just combine ASA and ASA Philippines and Card, siguro nasa 3.5 million na yon. So anong tawag mo dun sa balance na 2.5 million na yon? So, and this is where we argue that there is what we call a nano enterprise na hindi nakaka-capture ng Department of Trade and Industry dahil mas maliit pa ito than the micro. No? Yung asset size nila hanggang 300,000 lang. And in our estimate, itong mga nano enterprises ay nasa 8 million in number all over the Philippines. So, hindi sila nakakasama sa bilang ng Department of Trade and Industry. And I think that's one area kaya hindi nalalagyan ng tamang government interventions for them. No? Imagine 8 million out of, if you combine all of the micro to large, nasa 1 million lang sila eh. Pero 8 million nano enterprises yung unaccounted for. No? I think malaki itong epekto na hindi nakakagawa ng policy yung government to directly address this segment. So we did our research on nano enterprises during this pandemic, and we were quite surprised on how they were able to bounce back. So if you observe from this one, starting ng March hanggang May, ay marami talaga ang nagsara sa kanila, yung kanilang enterprises. Pero wala pang isang quarter, pagdating ng July, ay 96% of them were already able to resume their operations. Which, at ito na yung mga sinasabi nila parati na resilient ang mga nano enterprises, ang mga Pilipino. Pero actually, when we talk about resiliency, it's not just about diskarte, but it's also about how we are able to recharge ourselves na hindi tayo napapagod to take on opportunities. Itong nangyayari na to sa nano enterprises ay hindi yung ganong klaseng resiliency. It's just because they don't have any other options. Napakaliit ng barrier to entry where they can establish their livelihood again. And also, yung level ng income na hinahabol nila ay napakababa. Kaya madali nilang masabi na they already resumed their business at kaya nilang i-survive ito, no? And that's where when we put this into perspective, parang nag-bounce back ng mabilis ang mga nano enterprises. But is this the kind of bounce back that we like? Gusto ba natin na ganun pa rin sila kaliit doing the same businesses, no? Yun. And we also asked the financing preferences of nano enterprises. At ang nakita natin by June, half would resume their normal repayments, and half would ask for restructuring, no? At the beginning, yung mga micro and nano enterprises were still asking for refinancing, which mean additional funds, no, aside from the funds that they've already accessed. Pero mukhang nawala itong mga ganito because they are risk averse, and buti na lang meron silang nakuhang ayuda, and that was enough for them na itawid, no, na mabayaran yung loan nila at saka makaulit-ulit. So to summarize the impact of COVID-19 to the nano enterprises, so there's loss of livelihood that led to loss of income. And yun, nakita rin natin there's slow access to government assistance, primarily because nano enterprises don't have they're financially excluded, no? So mahirap magdirektang magbigay ng ayuda sa kanila coming from the government. They don't have bank accounts. Number two, they have difficulty accessing identity documents, birth certificates, driver's license na required para magkaroon ng bank account. So itong mga areas na to dapat ay mapabilis for financial inclusion. Low demand on products, there's also supply chain disruption, and lack of access to quality health services, no? Kasi ang available sa kanila are our public hospitals na nasabihan pa nga ako ng mga staff ko na kunwari sila sa probinsya, sa Mindanao, I have branches in Mindanao, at sasabihin nila, sir, ayaw namin na diyan sa provincial hospital itakbo yung staff natin kasi pag ipinasok po sa provincial hospital ay bangkay na lumalabas. May ganun silang perception, and that's very sad, no, because sila talaga yung vulnerable because of this pandemic. Digital inclusion struggles. Ito naman is another research that we've seen, no? 53% have problems getting reliable signal. So sabi natin, okay, we are going to bounce back better. A cashless society na tayo, mas maganda na contactless, no? We get rid of cash. Pero gustuhin man ng mga nano enterprises na gamitin ang mga mobile money platforms na yan, wala namang signal doon sa bundok, wala namang mga cash in, cash out outlets. Kaya doon nahihirapan, no? And then, mahal yung data, kailangan ng internet connection. There's also trouble finding place to charge their battery, at mahal yung pag-maintain ng linya, no? Maski nga yung mga prepaid, marami pa rin ang nahihirapan. Okay? Pero this is the profile of our social media behavior of our nano enterprises. 53% po sa kanila ay may Facebook na. So kung yung co-op nyo po, 53% may Facebook, 47% ay may Messenger. This is pre-pandemic. So dumami pa yan noong nag-pandemic. So kung yung co-op nyo po ay wala pa sa Facebook, walang chatbot sa Messenger, medyo signal po yan na kailangan natin talagang mag-adapt sa technology, no? So 41% pa yung walang social media. Okay. Tapos sa digital financial inclusion ulit, only 11% have bank accounts, 18% are able to buy online, and 23% have ATM cards. In fact, when we were doing this research, we had to change the strategy in conducting the research midway dahil nung kinakausap namin yung member ng kooperatiba na medyo senior, 50 to 60 years old, usually nga interview namin, nakikita namin na may kasama sila sa bahay, yung mga anak nila na nagpapatakbo din ng business, hawak-hawak ang cellphone, at kinakausap namin, saan po kayo, marunong ba kayo sa GCash or do you use mobile money? And their answer is yes. Pero hindi sila member ng kooperatiba. Yung nanay na digitally excluded ay miyembro, pero yung mga anak at yung mga ibang kasama sa bahay na digitally included ay hindi miyembro ng kooperatiba. And that is, I think, a very clear signal talaga na kailangan natin ng more digital and internet presence, a World Wide Web presence for the cooperatives. Okay, so ano yung mga ways forward natin, no? Having said this, one is on financial literacy, and financial literacy, ang dami ng layers eh. Meron siyang financial literacy on money management lang, savings mobilization, getting affordable insurance. There's also looking for investment opportunities, kasi marami po sa mga millennials at Gen X ngayon, no, naghahanap sila ng mga investment opportunities. And in my platform, in my social media platform, I promote cooperatives as a potent investment alternative, no? And I even tell them na my investment, my share capital investment in the strong cooperatives that I've invested in the past 15 years, nilampaso niya po yung stock market. Pero yung mga kooperatiba, hindi nila minamarket yung sarili nila na ganyan. 'Di ba? Parang ang perception sa mga kooperatiba ay nasa liblib na lugar, makaluma. So we have to attract the younger generation. And on the financial literacy, we are advocating for freedom from oppressive loan products. Yung interest on interest, ayaw natin yan. Yung hindi tumitigil na interest. In fact, ang lumalabas po na na principle or kaisipan mula sa mga kabataan ngayon ay ang measurement talaga ng success ng mga financial institutions ay how good they are in terms of mobilizing savings from their members rather than providing loans to their members. Kasi at the end of the day, pag tinatanong po yung mga members natin, anong mas gusto nila? Mas marami silang savings o mas maraming utang? Ang sasabihin po ng mga yan ay, syempre, mas maraming savings. So, yan po yung tinitingnan natin dyan. Then there's also a move towards Islamic banking na providing capital rather than loans. And what do we mean by this? No? So, nandyan pa rin yung pag-assess sa character ng ating mga clients, so that we could extend capital to them. The cash flow is still there. It should be asset-backed. So hindi po pwedeng walang partner na asset yung pagbibigay natin ng capital sa kanila. Tapos joint ventures. So actually, ito yung meat nung capital rather than loans. So with this, we transform our members as our partners, no? Rather than a creditor-debtor relationship na the creditor dictates the interest rates and the terms and conditions. While in a joint venture, nasa equal footing. Tapos, mayroong risk and profit sharing na nangyayari. So this is going to be a trend which is which is an adaptation, no, from the Islamic banking approach. So providing more importance to labor and participation above capitalism. Ano ba yung sabi natin dyan kung capitalism? It's more like profit yung tinitignan natin. So especially during this time of the pandemic na kailangan talaga natin magtulungan, ay marami ang mas nagiging socially aware, and when they take a look at organizations where they could place their money to invest, gusto nila yung may social relevance, and the cooperatives are well positioned to that dahil ang cooperation, cooperativism is at its heart, diba? So yan po yung profit sharing. So we remove the debt burden of the poor, and we find solutions together to address risks. And then ito din po, no, loss follows capital. So we want to prevent bankruptcy in low-income households kasi may mga before when we were conducting delinquency management courses, we were asking parang how do you collect from those who have always who can no longer pay. Tapos may mga nagsasabi na we foreclosed their properties, ganyan. So while that is beneficial for the institution, that is parang misery to the members. Kaya napakahalaga talaga ng character, cash flow, and capacity na titignan ng mga financial institutions in lending capital, because if we're not careful with that, we end up making our members poorer because of the debt that we have given them. And then, of course, dahil climbs yung nag-invite sa akin dito, hindi natin mapapalampas yung trend for what we call solidarity insurance. No? This is providing protection for external events and emergencies na through solidarity at hindi siya profit-driven. Of course, profit is important, but it is not the main goal of having the insurance. And again, the cooperative sector is well-positioned for that. Madali nitong ma-differentiate yung sarili niya sa mga traditional insurance companies na talagang for-profit yung kanilang operations. Sa cooperative insurance movement kasi ay solidarity yung ating mas pinupush dyan. Tayo ay nagtitipon-tipon to protect each other. So yan po yung no. And then lastly is on the partnership and cooperation. This is going to be another trend kasi we've realized during the pandemic na talagang kailangan natin ang mga partners natin to be able to survive. And that means accessing government services and working together with the private and public and of course the civil society. Okay, so that's my presentation. So I hope you were able to get something out of it. And we are opening the floor for our question and answer portion if you have questions regarding my presentation. So, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Sir Vince. And the floor is now open for anyone interested to ask Sir Vince. Habang nandito pa siya with us.
Sir, meron akong tanong si Pat Gonzales.
Yes, hi Ma'am Patricia.
From St. Francis. Yung investment, ano ang wala kayong ano yung legal aspects ng social investments in cooperatives na dapat ayusin para ang sa social investment. Kasi usually, only members invest, no?
Right.
Sa cooperative. So, paano yung social investment?
Opo. Actually, hindi po siya on the parang on the ano yung kailangang baguhin. Pero for me, ay mas i-open up yung membership at mas maging padaliin yung membership process. So, and to put it into perspective, no, we're helping some cooperatives come up with what we call online digital onboarding for membership, na hindi na kailangang pumunta sa opisina at magkaroon ng half-day na PMES para maging miyembro. So, ang gagawin po ay online ito ginagawa. There's a learning management system that they have to undergo. Kapag natapos na niya yon ay pwede na siyang mag-apply for membership. So, ganun po kasimple. And another one is actively marketing the cooperative movement. Ano yung kasi yung pong ginagawa mismo ng kooperatiba, social investment na po yan eh. Pero hindi natin siya na ima-market outside of our membership. Like for example, ako, I work with the overseas Filipinos very closely. Tapos kapag when we talk about investment, ang alam nila agad ay mga stock market, unit investment trust fund, or mutual fund. Tapos nagugulat sila kapag ini-introduce ko po yung cooperative, no? And how to find them. Tapos sinasabi ko, sabi nila, sa probinsya namin wala. Naku, Diyos ko, lahat po ng mga kooperatiba ay nandyan sa kasulok-sulukan ng lahat ng probinsya sa Pilipinas. So mukhang sa marketing side, mayroong kakulangan yung cooperative sector. And I think, gaya ng sabi ko nga, no, very pronounced yan sa kakulangan natin ng presensya sa social media. Example makikita ko yung mga social media accounts ng mga kooperatiba ay puro announcement lang. Diba? Announcement, sarado po yung office namin sa ganitong Tapos, nagkaroon kami ng activity. Ito po yung mga pictures namin. Kung ang tinatarget natin, millennials, Gen X, lalo na itong mga Gen Z, we have to be more engaging. We have to create content that will entice them to know more about your institution. No? So kung titignan natin, no, at anong ginagawa ng mga commercial banks dyan, if you take a look at their social media accounts, may mga activities dyan, nandun ng mga promo activities nila, may mga articles, may mga videos, may mga tips sila na binibigay. So yun pong kasanayan natin sa kooperatiba na face-to-face parate. We have to just transform that into the digital realm. At tingin ko po, we would be able to mobilize a lot of social investments for that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And we have nag-raise po sila ng hands from San Dionisio Credit Co-op. I see Ma'am Shello.
To our speaker.
Hi, Ma'am. Good afternoon.
Clear ba? Dinig ba?
Apo.
Good afternoon. Present here in our boardroom are some of our board of directors as well as the MANCOM. So, I would like to congratulate the speaker kasi very clear yung explanation, layman's terms, so very easy to understand. Meron lang, ang question ko lang dito, sir, yung tungkol sa opportunities one is in education. Could you please expound on that? Kasi meron kami school, primary education from preschool to high school. And good thing we were able to prepare an online. We are offering online education to our students. But still, may maraming nag-transfer sa public schools. So when we talk of education as an opportunity, of course, digital education, I'm sure. But what type of education are we looking to, especially if you have a school?
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So yung education kasi ngayon ay nagpipivot siya, no? Nag-iiba yung pagtingin sa education. In fact, may mga like for us, no, in our organization, we no longer require degrees for employment. Ako, senior high school would be enough. Ite-train namin yan na maging loan officer or kung ano man sa aming microfinance institution. So when we say what we mean about education is nagbabago yung hulma ng education. So if we're able to provide capacity building services that would directly link education to livelihood and to employment, no, opportunities, yan yung magagawa. So ano yung example niya? So for example po, saan po ang San Dionisio? Saang probinsya po ito?
Sa Maynila.
Sa Maynila. At andyan pala ang mga board of directors, no? So pupuntahan ko kayo, ha? Magpapamiyembro po ako dyan kasi 24 cooperatives na yung members ako at gusto kong dumami. Andyan ang board kasi ha? Basbasan nyo na po.
Online lang application for membership.
Okay, that's good. So for example, dito po sa Maynila, and very good na meron kayong school. So if for example you have a senior high school, what you should do is to connect with, say, business process outsourcing companies. Take a look at the proficiencies and requirements that they need. At yun po yung gagawan ninyo ng curriculum sa inyong eskwelahan. Para pag na-train nyo sila, the students will gain these proficiencies. Kayo po ang magsusupply ngayon ng workers dito sa BPO sector na ito. So meron na pong ganyang organization, Bagosphere ang pangalan, based in Bacolod City. So mga ganong models po. Another one, education. For example, ako, no, I'm a teacher. I teach in Ateneo, but I transform my teaching into Facebook Live events. And in that event, I talk about money management, I talk about financial literacy, I talk about joint ventures. And with that, marami akong nakakapacitate na matuto on how to handle money. And now they're able to directly invest in cooperatives or join in our joint ventures that would support, say, sustainable agriculture projects, ganyan. So, ganun na yung pag-iisip ngayon, that we have to embrace the digital realm. And ang gagawin lang natin ay paano ba natin ita-transform itong mga traditional business natin into digital na talagang pasok sa real economy. Kasi ngayon, di ba, parang ako iniisip ko yung traditional schooling natin, kung ano yung itinuturo. Nagamit ba talaga yan sa trabaho nila? Yun yung tinatanong ngayon. So if you're able to answer that and create education curriculum for that, I think that is a very, very good opportunity, source of opportunity.
So we're talking of tech block, right? Yes, sir.
Sorry?
More of technical educational courses. It's more of skills development.
Yes, okay. Yes, I would say that sa technical din. For the you were mentioning yung sa inyong kasi lumipat from the private school pumunta sa public school. I don't think kasalanan nyo po yan. I think mas dahil po yan ay dala ng kahirapan.
Yes.
So, what ang nakita ko po, I have a friend who owns also a private school. Ang ginawa niya, ang pivot niya ay tinransform yung ibang mga classrooms into BPO offices for rent. Tapos yung iba naman ay ginawa niyang small offices for virtual assistants.
Thank you, sir.
Sige po, okay na po. We have questions here in the chat box. Siguro basahin muna natin to. From Sir Alan Jude Teston, is equity investment of the co-op to other private entities such as hospitals, okay lang po ba yun, Sir Vin? Or is it legal and allowed?
Okay. Depende sa structure ng hospital. Kasi kapag yung hospital po ay corporation at hindi siya nakakuha ng secondary license to offer equity shares to more than 19 individuals, then that's not a part of their scope, no? In a sense, hindi po sila dapat nag-ooperate na ganon. Pero mayroon akong alam na mga cooperative hospitals, so po pwede kayong mag-invest doon sa mga cooperative hospitals na yun. Nakalimutan ko lang anong pangalan yan pero they also approached me before. They're creating hospitals that are cooperative based. So
Group hospital. Medical Mission Group Hospital.
Yun. That's yes, precisely. I've heard of that Medical Mission Hospital. Yes.
Next, from Ma'am Lily po. May question daw po siya. Hello, Ma'am Lily.
Good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon.
Question ko lang po. Kasi doon sa iyong in the sensor, sabi mo, we should attract the youth, no? At pag in-attract mo sila, you should be providing products na, for example, kailangan it's more of savings rather than loan. And it's more of capital rather than loans, di ba, sir?
Yeah.
So, ang tanong ko lang, sir, kasi sa co-op, medyo, yan yung approach na ginawa namin before. Ang result is tumataas yung ating liquidity, over-liquidity tayo, na hindi naman natin nagagamit kasi ang pinopromote natin is savings product.
Correct.
So, parang ang ano ko lang is how we can reconcile kasi hindi naman tayo kumukuha ng deposit from members for investment sa outside. Dapat ipautang mo rin yan eh.
Correct.
No? So para yung return mo rin kay member, maganda rin. Kaya lang kung ang ipopromote talaga natin, medyo na ano lang ako yung pag-reconcile no? Na how will you do it na you promote savings rather than loans. If you are a credit cooperative, syempre ang iyong source of income will be from lending. So yan yung medyo ang hirap i-balance eh.
Totoo yan, no? Sa totoo lang ay hindi kayo nag-iisa na yan ang problema. In fact, kung kakausapin mo nga ang Land Bank at saka DBP ay nahihirapan na magpahiram sa mga kooperatiba, lalo na yung mga strong cooperatives, dahil nga liquid na liquid, di ba? At tama yung sinasabi mo na, of course, if we're mobilizing savings, we also have to earn money because that savings ay may cost yan. So let me just put it into context muna, no? So yung una kong sinasabi na yung mga youth ay kailangan natin ma-attract na savings ang mas uunahin natin kasi unang-una kapag loans yung ating i-promote sa kanila, parang yung simulain nila ng pagmemiyembro sa kooperatiba ay parang it's not the first step, no? Natural first step. Mas maganda na savings discipline muna yung mai-establish natin sa kanila. And itong mga kabataan na to ay eventually they will be employed, eventually they will have more gainful employment or have their livelihood. And that now creates the natural market for the cooperative also in providing capital. So hindi ko naman po sinasabi na, oy, savings lang, titigil na tayo doon. Ang sinasabi ko ay, we attract them by promoting our savings insurance products initially, and then we introduce them also to other financial products that the cooperative could provide them.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Sir Vin. Another question from Sir Alex Rakepo. Sabi niya po, right now, many co-ops are very liquid despite the pandemic. This in itself is a very huge factor in pushing higher the trustworthiness level of co-ops. His question is, what can you suggest to co-ops with excess funds? Where could we invest best under these new normal conditions?
Oo nga, no? Saan nga ilalagay? Kasi parang yung mga co-ops, mga banks ngayon ay nag-withhold ng kanilang mas naging parang naging risk averse, 'di ba? Naging risk averse. Not only because of that, but also yung mga dating mga members natin na humihiram ng 100,000 or 150,000. Ngayon ang kailangan na lang nila ay 50 because of our economic state, no? Where we are right now. So I think for me, no, in my knowledge, to protect the money of the people, of our members, I would go into government securities. Yan yung isa. But I would also actively look at cooperatives within our network who need the liquidity. Kasi katulad ng reality ng ng business sector natin, there's a huge divide, no? Na nangyayari to. There are those cooperatives who are really doing well even with the pandemic, and now you're facing excess liquidity. Mayroon namang mga kooperatiba po na nangangailangan yan, no? And maybe this is the time for you to be like the big brother to these cooperatives and extend a lending hand to them. Kasi I think allowed naman yun, di ba, that you can, at alam ko yan, yung ibang mga kooperatiba ay nagpapautangan sa isa't isa. So that's one way of also looking at it, no? At tapos siguro ang tanong niyo naman, bakit ko naman papahiraman yung competitor ko? Ako po sa totoo lang if we have the same mission and vision na to eradicate poverty and to uplift the lives of Filipinos, we're not competitors, we are collaborators. So yun po yung pinaka-priority na gusto kong tignan ninyo. To take a look at smaller cooperatives that you could assist, and maybe you could create opportunities out of that.
Thank you, Sir Bin.
Or ibigay
Another
yung excess liquidity kay clients. Baka kailangan ni clients for the capitalization, di ba?
Yes.
Tama ba, Noel? Tama ba?
Another one from Miss Daisy Gamotin. Hello, sir. Would you recommend investing in the stock market next year for our excess fund?
No. For me, I'm very hardliner ako sa ganyan kasi the stock market it doesn't represent the real economy, no? And what do I mean by that? Tingnan nyo nga, negative yung ating growth, 'di ba, sa general economy natin. But the stock market has already recovered, no? Almost to a level na mapapantayan na niya yung last year's performance niya. And what does that mean? That means more money to those who own these corporations. So yung mayaman dyan talaga, yung mga may-ari niyan, the tycoons. And we don't need them to be richer. Okay? So ang mas kailangan natin ay suportahan yung mga kapwa nating mga kooperatiba. Tapos the stock market also, for me, parang disservice siya to our members if we provide our excess funds to the tycoons rather than using this money to help our members or the cooperative movement in itself. Parang, just to add, no, I think may fascination yung mga tao and parang sense na, ang social, ganyan, na sa stock market, ay nako, maniwala po kayo sa akin. Yung mga share capital ko dyan sa kooperatibang matatatag, no, sa Tagum, sa Panabo, sa Bansalan Co-op, sa Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives, sa Sacred Heart, pag tinignan natin yung 15 years na nilagay ko yung share capital ko dyan, di hamak na mas malaki yung kinita ko kumpara sa stock market. Ibibigay ko po yung link ng article ko on that so that you will be more convinced.
Yes, thank you, Sir Vin.
Limang tanong, ma'am.
Ay, sige, sir. Hi, Sir Roy.
Okay, good afternoon po.
Good afternoon.
May tanong ako doon kay Sir Rami. Kay Mr. Rapisura.
Yes po.
Yes po.
Sir Vin.
Kasi alam mo, yung nangyayari ngayon is that doon sa mga utilities like water, electricity, telephone, yung nakikinabang dyan, yung mga politician at saka yung mga sinasabi ng mga tycoon. Bakit hindi yan binibigay sa mga co-op when we in fact ourselves could be the investor? Nandyan na yung platform Why is it nga doon pinapasa sa mga tycoon? Why don't they offer it to the cooperatives? Yun ang dapat gawin Doon na It's actually you are sharing resources to the people.
Right.
Bakit ganun?
Multitudes of answer po yan, sir. Una-una, sabi nyo na po na politics yan. So that's one, no? Another one also is, if you take a look at it, no, yung sa electric side naman natin, in the rural areas, ang nagpapatakbo na talaga niyan ay mga electric cooperatives. Dito lang sa mga larger cities yung may tayo on the private sector. So, but one thing that I observe also is yung mga cooperatives din usually ay hindi ganun kahanda to take on the management and the operations of these utilities. Pero I think that's not also, parang we shouldn't stop there, di ba? Kailangan siguro na mas magkaroon siguro baka batas na i-build yung capacity ng mga kooperatiba to be efficient and effective in running these utilities for us. Sa akin, I think kung nakaya natin sa electric sector, baka nga even in the water side ay kaya din natin itong magawa.
Sir, can I add something?
Yes po.
Tutuloy ko lang, may follow-up lang ako po. Tuloy ko lang yung tanong ko po. Just to be enlightened, ano. Kasi ganito po yun eh. Minsan mga yung mga politicians sa ganitong partido nag-away-away kung sino yung ilalagay dyan nila na tycoon dyan sa ano na yan. May prime water, may ganitong tao rin, may nilad, or whatever. Ang point ko dito is this. Kasi ang kulang sa atin siguro sa akin lang no, is perhaps it's high time na tayo binibigyan ng empowerment eh.
Totoo.
Parang co-op is not giving that kind of chance to manage those kind of institutions. At saka parang undermine yung co-op sector eh. Kung i-empower talaga natin yan, mas mabilis yung development ng co-ops kung tayo ay mabibigyan ng economic participation like sa sharing ng yung profits ng cooperative. Yung cooperative naman hindi naman talaga yun yung mga electric cooperatives hindi naman talaga yun cooperative eh. Actually doon eh hindi yun cooperative. It doesn't the effect of the benefits of those profit-making cooperatives doesn't go actually to the consumers.
Totoo.
It goes to pockets of those who are really investing in that cooperatives. Ang point ko dito is that dapat tayo maging cooperative, mag-pool tayo ng resources. Perhaps meron tayong common fund na pwede tayo mag-invest sa ganitong project. Kaya natin.
Actually, yun din nga po yung sasabihin ko kanina kasi may mga nagsasabi na, may mga excess liquidity sila. Baka yun yung isang pwedeng gawin, no, to band together and be more active in this. Pero tama po kayo, no, na marami pang mga issues on the electric cooperative side.
Sir, can I,
Miss Marietta po? Yes po.
From CDA po kasi ako. So, I just want to enlighten everybody. Hindi po lahat ng electric co-op na nakikita natin ngayon at nag-ooperate ay totoong cooperative registered with CDA. So that's why yung sinasabi po nyo na si Mr. Roy, may sinasabi siyang hindi napapakinabangan, hindi binabalik, kasi hindi po sila totoong co-op.
Correct.
Sa atin pong batas, meron po tayong tinatawag na EPIRA law. Doon po sa batas, binibigyan ng choice itong mga existing electric cooperative kung magre-register sila sa SEC as corporation or sa CDA as cooperative.
Okay.
And ang nakakalungkot po, mas marami po ang nag-register as corporation rather than nag-register as talaga sa CDA. So yung registered po sa CDA, definitely, at na-monitor po namin, nag-distribute po sila ng tinatawag nating patronage refund interest on capital. Totoong pag-aari ng member.
Right.
But the rest, more than 100 plus, hindi po yan nagdi-distribute kasi hindi sila totoong co-op. They're just using the word cooperative na apelyido ng kanilang pangalan, but they are not registered with CDA. So kaya po may ganong problema. Kaya ako, ang advocacy po, dapat tayong lahat sa co-op sector, lalo kayo po na nasa mga community, dapat po mag-advocate tayo na yung mga members natin mag-subscribe or pilitin nila yung mga existing electric cooperative in your area to register with CDA so that totoong cooperative or totoong electric cooperative ang ating pupuntahan or isa-subscribe para mag-supply ng ating mga utilities. Yung po problema. So, yun po.
May tanong lang po, if you are from CDA, ma'am, ilan po lang po ang mga totoong electric cooperatives? Can you mention one medyo kilala?
Maliit nga po. Sa Region 3 po lang ang pwede kong sagutin kasi ako po ay...
Sige po ma'am, saan po doon?
Yun pong sa HELCO, sa San Jose Electric Co-op ng San Jose City, Nueva Ecija. You can call them NISING po. Wala po silang utang sa NEA. Wala po silang utang kahit sa ang bangko. They can survive on their own. Yun po yung maganda dun sa co-op na yan. Talagang members lang po lahat ang kanilang source ng capital. And then,
at nagsusurvive po sila. Yung iba kasing electric co-op kaya ayaw mag-register sa CPA. May mga utang po yan sa National Electric Administration. Hindi sila makakawala doon. So with the cooperatives na kayang suportahan ang sarili nila at hindi mangangailangan ng tulong galing sa gobyerno or sa ibang financial institution, they can survive and then they can really share the benefits of it.
Just additional information, Ma'am. Dati ito, yung water district namin was, I think, owned by Lua before. But now, private enterprise na kilala yan, Prime Water, isa, Maynilad, I think, pumasok na dito. Sana yung mga daong pagkakataon, bigyan ng preferential right naman, yung pag-organize muna ko, before giving it to them. Yung ganun, yung, parang sana may batas na ganun eh. Before you transform to that kind of setup, dapat tanungin mga consumers kung anong gusto silang direct beneficiary po. Yung ganun. If we are to develop talaga economic emancipation of the co-op members. Yun sa co-op po. Salamat po, ma'am.
Actually, meron din po yan sa mga water service co-op. And nakalagay naman yan sa batas, privilege. However, kanina nga may binabanggit si Mr. Roy about the, sabihin na natin, political will. No? Yun po, malaking factor po yun.
Correct. And it's a political issue. It's a great political issue.
Medyo maano-anong discussion ito. So ready? Yes po. Yes, sir.
Siguro magandang discussion dun yung ni-raise ni Sir Roy, no, at saka ni RD Wang. Kung nagawa yan sa cooperative insurance na dalawa yung regulator niya, just like in the insurance na yung regulator related to the business matters on the insurance to the insurance commission and matters related to the cooperative governance sa CTA, bakit hindi malabi yan na doon matter related to running the electric cooperative but matters related to governance sa CDA. Baka doon lang siguro na pwede. Nagawa man yan co-op, just like the co-op bank, dalawa yung regulator niya sa Cooperative Bank of sa BSP at Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the other one to the cooperative, to the CDA. Yun lang siguro ang pwedeng malagay doon sa lobby on advancement of the cooperative agenda. Thank you po.
Sige po. That's noted, Sir Noel. It's already 4:04 p.m. po, time check lang, and our reservation with Sir Vince is hanggang 4 p.m. lang. So, for your, madami pa pong questions, siguro we can have another webinar with a topic related to this, especially with your query. So,
yeah. I see
what you could kung hindi nga po namin siya ma-entertain lahat.
Yeah, what you could also do is to collect all the questions, and I can answer through an article or something, and I'll give the link to you para pwedeng mabasa ng lahat.
Thank you, Sir Vince. That would be really helpful. And to proceed, I would like to call on Mr. Alex Rapepo, one of our officers, with message of support.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Isaac. Good afternoon, Noel. And good afternoon, Vince. Ilocano ka ba, Vince? Ilocano ako eh. Isora is from Ilocano. Dinaanan mo yung co-op namin, sinabi mo yung Sacred Heart, pero hindi ka pa nag-i-invest sa Sakdeco. We're also one of the billionaire co-ops in Ilocos.
Opo, target ko yan.
Investor kami ng Nueva Segovia at Ilocos Consolidated. On top of that, we would like to thank you for your time. I think this has been a tradition of times. Year in, year out, we always conduct a economic outlook. Because the economic outlook, we believe, will guide most co-op leaders on what they do the next year. I was the person who asked about what do we do with our excess liquidity, and what are the kinds of businesses and maybe social enterprise that are in 2021. But besides that, I think the other co-op leaders are so interested, and that the questions that have not been answered will definitely be teaching you. So in behalf probably of the whole officership headed by Noel, and in terms of our board of directors, I think it's headed by General Lianto. Ay, hindi, si Father pala, si Father Manching. We would like to thank you for this opportunity, and we hope that this is not going to be the first and the last that we have encountered Vince. We hope that it's going to be a long process. I think he is the best marketer for co-ops. As he has mentioned, he has 20 or so co-ops where he invested. Oh, delikado yan, multiple membership. Tawag ng CDA yan, walang loyalty. Walang loyalty. But besides that, again, thank you. Thank you to all the co-op leaders that are present. We should continue supporting clients. Kami dito sa Northern Luzon, we have been one of the cornerstone of clients here, and we always market their products because we believe in their products, and ito maganda, is fast transaction when you deal with clients. And besides, this is ours. The clients is ours. Atin ito. Pinagmamalaki natin ito. At ang investment natin dito ay kumikita. Ito ang palaging tinitignan ni Noel araw-araw. So with that, salamat sa lahat. Salamat Noel, salamat IC, and of course to our resource person, si Vince. Maraming salamat at stay safe everyone. Nandiyan pa rin yung COVID. Thank you.
Thank you,
Sir Alex.
po.
Bye po.
Ilalagay ba ito sa Facebook? Lalagay ba ito sa Facebook?
No, isi-send siguro. Isi-send